All right, we're back, Truth Seeker. Let's do one last discussion before the NFL Week 2 games are played. I think there's a group of good games this week, several tight ones. I'm going to leave the notes out there so you can study. If you go into the description link of this video, you have the same thing linked that I'm looking at if you want to pull that up on your computer or your device. Again, this 49ers at Bengals game. To me, the biggest clue about this game this week is the story of the death of the former Bengal who was murdered at age 38 in the Bay Area. And again, this story came September 11th, just days before this game between the Bengals and 49ers. And when I saw this story, again, it made me go back and look to see if there was a 38 on the board in this game. Might have to pay attention to the Oregon State Beavers today, too. This guy died on his 158th day of his age. He played college football at Oregon State. Oregon State wears orange and black like the Bengals. There were 2 football deaths on September 11th. One was connected to the Browns, the other connected to the Bengals. And the player for the Browns used to play for the Bengals. But anyhow, this man died at 38 years old, murdered in the Bay Area, former Bengal. And the 138 that's on the board is with Dalton. Andy Dalton could get his 38th home win of the regular season. He'd also pick up his 68th win in the regular season in San Francisco, 68. Something to think about that is 68 is the number on September 11th, and this man was murdered on September 11th. So, very hard to ignore. Caller yesterday did make a good observation about Jimmy Graham. His stats with the 49ers are 7-2. If he won, he'd be 8-2. Cincinnati, Ohio is 82. That is something worth considering. But like I talked about yesterday, if Jimmy Graham dies, he'll be 9-3 for his career in the regular season. The name of the man who was killed for the Bengals, his name equals 93 in the most pure cipher. And if Graham lost this week and won next week, he'd be 10-3 after beating the Steelers. Steelers equals 103. And he'd become 5-0 at home. Pittsburgh 50, San Francisco 50, Steelers 50. So I'm digging Jimmy Graham to win next week. One other thing worth considering is that if Jimmy Graham, let's say he didn't lose this week, let's say he won, and then he won next week against the Steelers, he could do that 5-0 home thing, which I think will happen. I like that riddle for next week. If he won 1, 2, 3, if he won these 3 games, he'd be 12-2 for his career. And San Francisco equals 122. It is on the 122nd meridian. So that is something to consider. But again, that riddle with the 38-year-old man this week, it's got me looking at the 38. So I think there are some safer games in that one this week. The Chargers at the Lions. This is a tight one as well. The Chargers are 7-4 versus the Lions. Again, Detroit Lions is 74. San Diego 74, the old home of the Chargers. And the Chargers are 2-4 at the Lions. They have a losing record there. It's a date numerology of 43 this game. If the Lions lost, they'd be 4-3 at home versus the Chargers. Chargers 43 date numerology. Chargers is also 52 if they improve to 5-2 against them. Rivers, what concerns me about Rivers is his next career loss in the regular season is 91. In Detroit's 91, so he could pick it up in the perfect location. That is right there front and center. And then Stafford. His all-time stats show a reason to lose versus the Chargers, but I tend to fade the all-time stats and look more at the regular season. And again, I was looking up and down, and I just couldn't figure out where the sync comes in with Stafford for this season, win or lose this week. So it's possible I'm missing it, but I have been looking for it and have not noticed it. So there is a potential upset here with the Lions. The biggest clue for that would be Rivers picking up his 91st regular season loss in Detroit. I'm expecting good things, though, from the Chargers this year. I mean, you lose at the Lions early in the season, it's not a big deal. But that's the thought. I caught one more thing in this Vikings and Packers game. It's another 103 related thing. Aaron Rodgers. If Rodgers wins this game, he'll get his 102nd win in the regular season. Week 2 equals 102. And he plays the Broncos next week. And Broncos is 103. So I'm thinking, So if he wins this week, it sets him up for 103 versus the Broncos next week. And that is really hard to ignore. Again, it's the 15th of the month. It's Aaron Rodgers' 15th season. This game is synced up with the death of number 15, Bart Starr. I feel like Rodgers has to do something special here in this game. It's hard for me to imagine him losing in light of the Bart Starr ritual. And seeing that if he wins this week and next week and gets 103 versus the Broncos, that sounds about right to me. Again, 103 was the number week 1 in the Bears ritual, where they won 10-3, a span of 103 days from the death of Bart Starr. What else is interesting about this game is it's on Zimmer's 103rd day of his age as well, so maybe that 103 theme plays all year with the Packers. It's going to play this week. It played week 1. It's going to play week 2. Looks like it'll play week 3. The Colts and Titans game, again, Andrew Luck's gone. Andrew Luck used to dominate the Titans. They were his doormats. And we got a call here. Caller?
Hey, what up, Zach?
What's up, man?
Hey, I got some points I want to make about Jimmy G.
Okay.
All right, so remember how I made that comment yesterday about how maybe 77 might play big this weekend?
Sure.
Or this week in the NFL?
Right.
So James Richard Garoppolo, which is his full name,
Is 77.
Is 107. And that's the day leaving 107 days left in the year, right? Sunday?
Right, that's right.
And that's the 28th prime. So like 28 in reverse is kind of like 8-2, which makes me think that maybe he could go to 8-2 as a 49er starter.
Say that again about 8-2. We know Cincinnati, Ohio's 82.
Right.
Okay.
So that's kind of a strong point that I'm looking at. And also, his full name is 118. And if you look up his birthday, to his upcoming birthday, it's 1 month, 18 days. And it's also 6 weeks and 6 days. So Cincinnati's 66. I think if they don't win the game, he at least has a big game for fantasy football. And if you type out his name, Jimmy Garoppolo, in the blue cipher in full reduction, the strongest cipher is 77.
Right. Yeah, I knew he had a 77. I remember that back when he was on the Patriots.
And then also, if you do his nickname, Jimmy G is 77 in English ordinal.
Right.
So he looks good to have a fantasy football game, if not a win on the game.
Okay.
So I know I'm teeter-tottering back and forth on this game. But I'm definitely going to probably roster him on some fantasy football games, and try to play that 77 connection. And then also when you get to the Cowboys game, Ezekiel Elliott has that 77 connection.
Well, we're on time about the 49ers. They are a team that could do very well this year. Jimmy Garoppolo's not a bad quarterback. The 49ers have a good defense. That would be a long shot Super Bowl scenario to me, but if it ended up being Patriots and Niners, that would be some more mockery too, just because.
Oh yeah, because Jimmy came from the
Patriots, and San Francisco equals 50, and it's the 50th Super Bowl of the modern era. If that was Tom Brady's last Super Bowl, he'd be facing, Tom Brady's from the Bay Area, so.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. If I was going to drop a fourth scenario in addition to the 3 that I like more yesterday, that might be my fourth scenario right now. We'll have to see what the 49ers do this week. So.
Yeah, man. That's so crazy you bring that up because, he grew up a 49ers fan. He idoled Joe Montana. And if he could go out and win one more Super Bowl against the 49ers, oh, man, that would be like the stamp on the legacy.
I have a feeling though if the Patriots go to the Super Bowl this year, they're going to lose. So
do I. And remember I made that point about how New Orleans Saints is 64 and 98. And I think that connection there between those two teams, Drew Brees could beat 2 of the greatest quarterbacks of all time,
right.
And Brady could fall to 6-4 in his record.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
Hard Rock Stadium, whatever, equals 66, and that would be the Patriots' record in 12 Super Bowls.
6-6, right.
This is also, the 12th Super Bowl ever at Miami?
I don't remember if it's 12 or 11. It's one of the two.
Yeah, it's one of the two. And that 11 played big in the first week of the first season, so that could be foreshadowing something with,
Indeed.
the 11th Super Bowl.
Indeed. All right.
So yeah, when you get to the Cowboy breakdown, you pointed out yesterday that Ezekiel Elliott lines up good with Washington, and he also has that 77 connection in the reverse full reduction. So he's probably a good eye for people that are going to do fantasy too, to keep an eye on him.
I agree. Yeah, he looks like he's ready for a day.
Yeah. All right, bud.
All right, take care, man. Okay, so yeah, I think if Jimmy G were to win this week, he'd probably be on his way to 12-2 because that 1-2-2 is a big number in San Francisco. But I don't know. It looks so good for him to drop it this week and win next week at home against the Steelers. Dalton's got some numbers this week, so I'll let you make the call. Chargers and Lions. Again, there's a little riddle here for a Lions upset, mostly that Rivers could get his 91st regular season loss in Detroit, which equals 91. So the Vikings and Packers game, like I was saying, I think Rodgers will win this week to set him up next week to get his 103rd win over the Broncos. Broncos is 103. He wins this week, he gets 102, then 103 next week. Colts and Titans, I think that's where I was when I took the call. The clearest riddle to me is that if Brissett lost this week to the Titans, he'd get his 14th regular season loss. Titans is 43, the 14th prime. It's 43-date numerology. And then if he lost this week and next week, he'd get his 15th loss in Atlanta. Atlanta's 15. So that's what jumps out to me. I just feel like the Titans, they're due for a win against the Colts. They used to get owned when Andrew Luck was there. And here we can look at that real quick. Titans, head-to-head, Colts. So, let's see here. Andrew Luck missed that season. I think that's where they performed. Hold on. So they lost both to Luck last year. Luck didn't play the year before. They won those games without Luck. But, look at all the years with Luck. They just lose when Luck's on the field. And remember, the Titans are originally from Houston, where Luck's from, where his father played. So it's just like they lose when Luck's there. The year Luck didn't play, they won those games. Hold on. Okay. So anyhow, looking at Brissett, it would make sense if he lost this week and next week. And Mariota could improve to 2-2 at home. Titans is 79, the 22nd prime. 2-2 at home versus the Colts, that is. So that's my thought there. And then Patriots and Dolphins. Just want to mention what I said in today's earlier live stream. This death of Eddie Money. When I typed in his name last night, the first thing that jumped out is in the most pure cipher, it's 54. And I thought, could there be some football relation to this? So then I put in his full name, and I noticed it's under 209. I was like, I was just talking about that number with Miami, where the Super Bowl is, because Miami Dolphins is 209. And he died at age 70, Eddie Money. Notice Miami Dolphins is 70 and 209. And the articles were emphasizing 2 tickets to Paradise, which had a connection to the National Football League, New England Patriots, and more. And, of course, the Patriots are playing the Dolphins this weekend, and Tom Brady happens to be going for his 209th regular season win. So, it's just like, well, what are the odds of that? And that's something to keep in mind if the Patriots go in and win this week and pick up 209. Remember that we've seen a lot of people die with connections to 54. His death would come just days before the Patriots played, and Brady got that 209th win in Miami, where the Super Bowl is going to be. So there is an upset narrative for the Dolphins. Brady could get his 43rd away loss. We have 43-date numerology. Dolphins is 43. Florida's 43. So it's not out of the question. Brady does have a losing record in Miami. Last year they lost there on the Miami Miracle, as they called it, which again was a play where Gronkowski was on the field, and it was 209 days from Gronkowski's birthday. So I'm thinking, though, that the Patriots might very well start the season 5-0. Like I said yesterday, their 5th game is against Washington. Washington equals 50. Brady equals 50. The Patriots have a very easy schedule. The opening Sunday night ritual last week was all about 50. And by the way, Antonio Brown, the game 68 days after his birthday. Rape is 68, and he was signed by the Patriots a span of 68 weeks from the alleged rape date. We talked about how the rape story was synced up with the Super Bowl. That's another thing to think about. Antonio Brown's making his first appearance with the Patriots in Miami, where the Super Bowl's going to be. So the Miami narrative to win this game is maybe Antonio Brown's a curse. And Dolphins getting that 43rd away win. I mean, it's not out of the question, but just looking at the schedule, I see a perfect setup for the Patriots to be in 5-0, as easy as it is. The only team they play with a win right now is the Bills. Okay. Also, Fitzpatrick can become 2-5 at home versus the Patriots. That makes sense because Dolphins is 97, the 25th prime. So, all right, the Bills and Giants. I like Manning here this week. The riddle looks right for Manning. Manning's next regular season win is 117. Buffalo Bills is 117. And if Josh Allen loses, he's going to be 2-5 away. Giants is 25 in the most pure cipher. If you use the rule for S, yes, it is 34 as well, but that 25 hits harder. And I just like that, perfect opponent for Manning to get his 117th win. So Shermer has a few things that are concerning, but again, I'll always take the QBs before I look at the coaches. Seahawks and Steelers. Tight one here. It's tight because the Seahawks with a win would be 10-8 versus the Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers is 108, but if the Seahawks lost in Pittsburgh, they'd be 2-8 there. The Steelers would be 8-2 against the Seahawks. It's actually interesting they've even played that. Oh, I guess because never mind. They used to be in the AFC. But Seattle's 28-82. So these things are contradictory right here. So that's tricky. This game is on Pete Carroll's birthday. The last time these teams played, it was Russell Wilson's birthday. That game was in Seattle. The Seahawks won. So I'm just saying, what are the odds of these teams meeting, teams that met in the Super Bowl, on birthdays? The coaches and the quarterbacks for the second time in a row. And I pointed out, if Wilson didn't lose against the Steelers, I do think he's going to lose next week at home to the Saints. That lines up nicely for them to lose next week. So if he didn't lose this week, he could get his 37th loss next week against the Saints. Saints is 37. And on Thursday Night Football, we saw there was a big riddle with 77. Russell Wilson could get his 77th regular season win. Sometimes you'll see a theme throughout the week with a key number. Big Ben, the trick with him is his all-time stats suggest that he could win at home and get his 87th win. Seahawks is 87, so is week 2, but that's all-time. I'd rather look at the regular season. He can get his 28th home loss in the regular season, and Seattle's 28. So it's also the day leaving 107 days left in the year, the 28th prime. Seattle's 107 and 28. So Seahawks definitely have a narrative to upset here. Just worry about that home record. That home record for the Steelers is the thing that makes it a tough call. Cowboys and Redskins. The Cowboys are 32-27 at the Redskins. They're going to play again in Week 17. This is the 117th match between these teams. Redskins equals 117. A lot of times when an all-time matchup syncs with the team, it's a good sign. Like yesterday, North Carolina and Wake Forest Demon Deacons. I think it was the 359th match. Wake Forest Demon Deacons equals 359, and they went on to win that game. Not always, but it does seem that a lot of times when the total game number syncs with one of the teams, it's a good sign for the one it syncs with. In this case, that's the Redskins. Let's see. Keenum, he could get his 27th regular season win on the 27-date numerology, or he could get his 30th regular season loss. Cowboys is 30. If he did lose, he'd be 14-14 at home. Dallas Cowboys is 43, the 14th prime. So if he won, he'd get his 15th win on the 15th. Let's see. Again, Ezekiel Elliott, the game's on his 56th day of his age. Washington, D.C.'s 56. I have a feeling he's going to have a ball game. Caller?
Hey, Zach.
What's up, man?
I just want to mention something real quick about the Redskins.
Okay.
I think it said, I'm pretty sure I just saw an article, said they're starting the fourth different quarterback in as many games.
Oh, they're not going with Keenum?
Oh, okay. Well, that's what it looked like. I thought they were going with Keenum.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So they're using somebody else?
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
This is the thing that I saw was Casey Austin Keenum, sums to 1889 extended, and he's at 1888 career pass attempts. So I'm just wondering if there won't be like some big play on his first pass attempt. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
So, say it one more time. So there's a stat with Keenum, and what is it?
That he's at 1,888 pass attempts.
1,888. Okay.
And his name, Casey Austin Keenum, sums to 1889 in the extended cipher. I'm just wondering if something, a big play won't happen with his first pass.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I just something to throw out there, something to watch. Maybe see if that extended cipher gives results or what, you know.
Sure. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, good catch on finding that.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it.
I'll let you get back to it.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
I got to just see it with my own eyes here. Casey Austin Keenum. Let's see. Perfect name for the National Football League and 100th NFL season. Redskins are one of those teams with the 54 connection. Let's see. So, 1889. Let's see. Yeah, his next pass attempt is 1889. That is very interesting. Okay. The Cowboys are on 43 regular season losses versus the Redskins. They could potentially stay on that on the 43 date numerology. And yeah, it's just another game where I was looking up and down the Cowboys schedule, trying to figure out where things might go. Cowboys got the Dolphins next week. Actually, there is something there. Hold on, let me, whoops. Let me open up the post where I can edit. Okay. So Cowboys are at home against Miami next week. All right, let me get the game up here real quick. I guess it's all time though. If Dak won this week, he could get his 36th all-time win next week versus Miami. Miami equals 36. So I'd rather that be in the regular season. But it is right there. Dak's played the Redskins very well, 5-1. All right. This note down here. Casey Austin Keenum. Yeah, will be interesting to see if he does anything special on that first pass of the game. I'm going to keep an eye on that. All right. But yeah, that one's a little bit tight. Redskins, they played the Eagles real tough in Philadelphia last week. So, all right, again, Ravens, Cardinals, Lamar Jackson, the sensation of week 1. He played for the Louisville Cardinals, and we pointed out that if he wins this game, he will be 8-1 in the regular season. Cardinals is 81. If he lost at home, he'd be 4-1. Baltimore is 41. That is something to consider, but I am expecting this to go 8-1. Tribute to the Cardinals. And just looking down the road at Arizona's schedule, if they begin the season 0-5, they can become 1-5 in Week 6 by beating Atlanta. Atlanta's 15. It's very possible that's the route it takes. So the Ravens are 4-2 versus the Cardinals. If the Cardinals lose, they'll be 2-5 versus the Ravens. Ravens is 25. And it does have an S, so it's also 34, but that 25 is more pure. 43 date numerology is there, but again, I just think it's about Lamar Jackson. Played for the Cardinals, now a chance to improve to 8-1 versus the Cardinals. Rituals 81, and chance he might drop his next 2 games though to fall to 8-3. If he lost next week at Kansas City and then lost to the Browns, he would be 8-3. Cleveland Browns 83, football 83. Okay, and then the Cardinals team's tough because the coach and the QB don't have any history, so for them it's probably going to be some sort of birthday-driven ritual when they won. Okay. Jaguars at Texans. Again, Texans are nearly a 9-point favorite. The date numerology breaks down to 9. 8.5 is how much of a favorite they are. They got to win by 9 to cover. The Jaguars are 13-21 versus the Texans and 5-12 at the Texans. It's tricky because you got that 43 date numerology. They could get the 14th win versus the Texans, 43 the 14th prime, or they could pick up the 13th loss at the Texans. When you write out 2, it does equal 13 in the most pure cipher. And you know what? Since we've been talking about 2 equals 13 and 14 when you flip it, run the alphabetic order in reverse. I like that pure cipher better though. So Bill O'Brien, if he won, he would get his 43rd regular season win. Jacksonville's 43. And if Watson wins, he'd be 3-1 versus the Jaguars. Houston's 31, a number that plays all the time with Houston. So things could make sense for the QB and the coach here with the Texans win. The best thing on the board for the Jaguars is the possibility of that 14th win versus the Texans. It doesn't have to come today, though. There'll be more games where that could come. So, just as much as 31 plays in Houston, it's hard to ignore. And one other concern I have about Watson is that he's 8-3 at home. I believe Texans equals 83. Yeah, Texans is 83, so it makes sense that he's 8-3 at home. Football is 83. But one concern I have, where am I? Is that if he lost, he'd be 8-4. Jacksonville Jaguars is 84. Carolina Panthers is also 84. That's who his next home game's against. So, a couple different scenarios there. It's just, out of all the riddles on the board, I just know Houston and 31. That's one that shows up a lot. But again, some of these games are definitely safer this week. Chiefs and Raiders, this is still my favorite upset call of the week. I really like the fact that Mahomes can fall to 7-4 away. Raiders is 74, Oakland, California 74. Plus his next away game is the Detroit Lions, and Detroit Lions is 74. If you want to play devil's advocate, that game's in Detroit, Michigan. Detroit, Michigan's 83 on the 83rd Meridian. But again, Oakland, big 74 city. And the next opponent is 74 as well. So I think they might throw the Raiders a big bone here this weekend. And the other piece I like about this is if Carr wins, he's 3-8 versus the Chiefs. Raiders is 38. Again, we saw the death of Cliff Branch 38 days before the season opener. So hard to ignore. If Gruden doesn't lose, he'll stay on 38 losses as well, and he faces Minnesota next week. So could go into he could stay on 38 losses with Oakland in the regular season, and he coaches at Minnesota next week. Minnesota's 38 like Raiders. So that has a little rhyme and reason to it. And in his all-time stats, his next all-time loss is 98. Kansas City Chiefs is 98, but again, I prefer regular season to the all-time stats, which include the playoffs. So definitely think the Chiefs have a pretty good shot there. Okay, Bears and Broncos. The biggest clue here to me, if the Bears do win, they will be 8-8 versus the Broncos. Denver, Colorado does equal 88 where the game is at. Pat Bolin died this offseason. His full name equals 88. The Broncos' first game was 88 days after his death. You can make an argument either way for the record in Denver. You can make a argument for either team to win. Trubisky, what stands out about him is if he loses, he's going to be 6-7 away. Denver's 67. And Flacco, his next win at home is 61. 61's the 18th prime. Bears equals 18. So that alignment with the QBs on both sides, that's the scenario that makes the most sense, at least in my mind. And his next game will be at home versus the Jaguars. What is Jaguars? 23? Jaguars is 23. I guess I'll throw the devil's advocate narrative up here. If Flacco lost his first 2 home games, he would pick up 23rd home loss. Jaguars equals 23. Next home opponent. The game's on Flacco's 243rd day of his age. And again, that seems to be a magic number this year, 243. 243 and 54, so. Flacco can also get his 63rd all-time home win on the 63-date numerology. So his regular season and his all-time could make sense with a W. The head-to-head seems favorable for the Bears overall. The record at Denver, you can make an argument either way. But then both QBs seem to make a little bit more sense with a loss. Trubisky being 6-7 away in Denver, 67. And Flacco getting that 61st home win, the 18th prime, Bears 18. So, and that would help give the Packers a little padding if they won this week and were 2-0 and the Bears were 0-2. All right, Saints at Rams. Again, the best riddle on the board to me is that this game is 34 weeks after the NFC Championship with the blown call. The Saints want revenge. They brought up that play all throughout last week's game, making sure nobody forgot about it. That's why they did the rule change this year with pass interference, which looks real gimmicky because the refs aren't overturning the call, even though it's obvious there's pass interference. We saw that in the Monday night game. But the Saints can get the 34th regular season win 34 weeks after the blown call. Let me see if there's any headlines out there. Rams. See if they're emphasizing any keywords. See what comes up. All right. Okay, I didn't see the keywords. But anyway, I'm just going to stick with that thought. There's a reason that they're having this game 34 weeks later, and the Saints have the opportunity for that 34th win. And this game is also 243 days after Drew Brees' birthday. I'm really watching those patterns with 243 and 54. I think those are a good sign. So... Brees, you can make an argument for the win or loss in the regular season. This is the hairiest part right here. He could get his 157th win, which is the 37th prime. Los Angeles is 37, or he could get that 109th loss. Los Angeles is 109. So, the game's definitely not a one-way street because of that. Another thing is Brees is 1-4 at the Rams. What's concerning about that is Rams does equal 15 if he became 1-5 at the Rams. So there's a few things in Brees' record that are curious. You know, he's got one thing going for him. You could say two going against him. But I'm still just looking at the 34 weeks later. You got to pick out that best riddle. And with Goff, again, Goff could also become 1-3 versus the Saints. LA's 13. And this week's opponent, this week's home opponent and his next home opponent both have the 37 connection, the 12th prime. His next home win is 12. So, could go either way too. All right, let's see. I guess one other note I should put up here is Los Angeles does equal 55. He could become 5-5 against them. Okay. And then Falcons-Eagles, sticking with my initial thought about Carson Wentz getting his 25th win over the Falcons. If the Eagles win, they'll be 9-7 versus the Falcons. 97 is the 25th prime. Falcons 25, Philadelphia 97, and Wentz getting that 25th win. So I like that. The date numerology breaks down to 9. Wentz can get his 9th away win as well. Stay on 17 losses. Atlanta, Georgia 59, the 17th prime. And we saw that if Wentz wins 3 out of his next 4, including winning that 4th game, he'd get his 27th win over the Jets. So I think the Eagles get off to a good start here this season. Matt Ryan, his next home loss in the regular season is 30. Eagles equals 113, the 30th prime. The one thing that could go for him is he could become 3-0 at home against the Eagles. Quinn can also get his 30th regular season loss, though. So both Ryan and Quinn can get the 30th, a 30 loss that connects to Eagles. And Quinn could also get his 32nd all-time loss, and Eagles is 32. So it's mostly the Carson Wentz 25 thing and the head-to-head records factoring into that 25 riddle that makes me like the Eagles. Let me check something real quick. Eagles. Okay. And then Browns at Jets. I think the Browns are good to go. Through Mayfield. Mayfield can improve to 7-8. Cleveland 78. New York 78. Trevor Siemian, who's starting for the Jets, equals 78. If Mayfield does win, he'll be 3-5 away. Maybe I should move that note there so it's just easier to see. Browns is 35 if he wins and becomes 3-5 away. And Siemian can get his 12th regular season loss. 37 date numerology, the 12th prime. MNF is 12 as well, so perfect venue for the 12th loss. And Gase could also get his 28th all-time loss. Browns is 28. So, but this is the big one right here. Both cities connect to 78. Mayfield can get to 7-8. There's a reason that they took out Darnold with the mono thing. Obviously a BS story. I think it's to put Siemian in for the ritual. So I do like the I like the Browns riddle. I like the Eagles riddle. Saints and Rams is a little bit tight just because Drew Brees, you can make an argument for a win or loss in his record. That's the concern, but he's that magical day. We've learned that there's this relationship with 243 and 54 as we've been talking about. And so he's got that alignment, plus just that 34 weeks after the missed call, it just feels like it's right for revenge. Just trying to think what kind of word they would use. Revenge. Probably be in the headline when the game's over. And let's see. Cowboys, Redskins. I could see the upset here just because it's the Redskins' 117th game. I'm not crazy about this one because of that. I expect the Cowboys to have a good season. Winning these games early would be, a step in that direction. But that 117th game has me thinking the Redskins got a real shot. And again, the date numerology, it does support Gruden, the coach. Could support Keenum as well. Keenum, you can make an argument either way. And still, Seahawks, Steelers really could steal this game right here. They got a narrative to do it. But again, it's tight because of the head-to-head record. You can make an argument both ways in the head-to-head. But I'm thinking, the birthday thing. Again, 2 times in a row. The last 2 times the Seahawks and Steelers have played each other, it's been on a birthday. Last time it was on Russell Wilson's birthday, November 29th. Now it's on Pete Carroll's birthday, September 15th. So, something up with that. I like the Seahawks to lose next week, though, that's for sure. Caller?
Hey, Zach, how you doing?
What's up, man?
Right. I was just listening to what you were just saying about with that Saints game, and I have a feeling if the Saints win that game, I think the word they might use in the headlines may be redemption.
Redemption. That could be a word. That could be a word right there.
So that just crossed my mind when I was just listening to you.
Yeah, that's a good word. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Appreciate it, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting word, redemption. It's 151, the 36th prime, which goes with the date numerology. 52 like Los Angeles. Rams is 52. And what did I do here? I started skipping around on something else. What did I do? Hold on. Let me go back to it. I know there was a 52 thing here with this game. What did I do? Come on, Zach. Okay. The over-under is at 52. Los Angeles Rams is 52. The game is 52 days from Kamara's birthday, or a span of 53 days. Again, Kamara looks like he's primed for a good game in LA. He could be the man in this game. He's got a nice alignment with Los Angeles Rams, Los Angeles, and LA here. So he could be the difference maker. But that word redemption is 52. It's also a span of 239 days from the NFC Championship game, 52nd prime. And I'll just add in here that that word redemption is 52. He could be right about that. So, okay. All right, so we were just summing up these games. Again, if the Broncos do pull this one out, it would make sense on both sides with the quarterbacks. Trubisky looks like he very well might split his next 2 games. This is the more likely game to lose, I would say. It's hard to tell who the Broncos are with the new coach and the new quarterback. But, caller?
Hey, what's up, Zay?
What's up, man?
Hey, I was trying to get ahead of you on that Browns-Jets game so I could come up with something, and I found something pretty interesting. You may already know this, but they played in the first Monday Night Football game ever.
Is that right?
Yeah, the Browns won. It was 31-21, September 21st, 1970. So,
Well,
yeah, man. So that put it out there. Is the game going to be in Cleveland?
It's going to be in New York.
New York? I don't know right here if it says where. It's not really saying. No, it was in Cleveland, but I still thought that was interesting. That, kind of with the 100th season and everything.
And you said the Browns won that one?
Yeah, the Browns won. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. So, yeah, that's a good fact you dug up there.
All right.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's all
man.
I got.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Bye.
So that game was September 21st, 1970, so almost 49 years ago. The Browns defeated the Jets 31-21. It featured a 94-yard kickoff return for a touchdown by the Browns. Homer Jones. There was a pick 6 by Namath for the clinching touchdown, of course. Okay, but yeah, I really like that Mayfield can get that 7-8 thing. Okay, so again, if Flacco does win, he'll get his 61st home win. That's the 18th prime. Bears is 18. Get the 63rd all-time win on the 63 date. Raiders to beat Chiefs is my favorite upset of the week. Again, it's all about Mahomes becoming 7-4 away. Raiders 74, Oakland, California 74, and Carr becoming 3-8 versus the Chiefs. Raiders 38. And the Jaguars at Texans. Jaguars definitely got a shot in this game, but just as much as 31 hits in Houston, I see Watson becoming 3-1 versus the Jaguars, making a lot of sense. And O'Brien getting his 43rd regular season win over Jacksonville on the 43-date numerology. I like that for the QB coach pairing. So, is Texans 38? No. Okay. I just wonder. I'm not sure the Ravens are going to cover, man. Everyone and their mother probably thinks the Ravens are going to cover. Watch the pregame to see where the public money is on this. It really does look like the Cardinals will probably start this season 0-5 and get their first win against Atlanta. So I like Lamar Jackson getting to 8-1. Again, Cardinals is 81, who he played for in college, the Louisville Cardinals. So it's a big spread, though. And in the goofy NFL, you just never know. You do have the 43-date numerology, the 14th prime if the Ravens won by 2 touchdowns. The date numerology is there to support it, but I'd still see how the public money is. If it's real heavy on the Ravens covering, I'd be weary. The Cowboys and Redskins. Again, I think this game's really tight here. I'm not crazy about this one. Because it is the 117th game and Redskins equals 117, I think they got a shot. But, Yeah, I know. I think I'm gonna have to let that one go this week. Caller?
Hey, Zach.
Yeah, hey.
Hey, last night I was just doing a little bit of decoding on the upcoming NFC Championship game next year. It's been from this tomorrow, the Saints and Rams game, to the NFC Championship next year is 4 months and 4 days. Let's see. It's also 126 days.
New Orleans numbers.
Yeah, right. And Saints, it's on the 19th day of the year also, January 19th. You see Saints is 19 and 44, just like LA Rams is 19 and 44.
So you're saying maybe it could be a rematch that they meet again.
Right, and I know last year the Rams lost to the Saints in the regular season and then beat them in the NFC Championship, so I'm thinking maybe it's a reverse this year.
Right. That's very true.
So that's all I got for you, Zach.
So let's go over that again. So last year the Saints won in the regular season and lost in the playoffs.
In the NFC Championship, right, correct.
So if it's the opposite, then that would mean the Rams would win tomorrow.
Right.
That's an interesting thought. It's possible because Breeze lost, you get that 109th regular season loss, and Los Angeles does equal 109. So.
Yeah, I mean, and it's looking like it's going to be a NFC Championship rematch. I mean, just based off, being in 4 months and 4 days from tomorrow, and you got the 44 being on the 19th day of the year, got the 44 and the 19.
Right,
and then
right.
126, 126 days.
Yeah, that is it. Yeah, you made a really great observation there about the 126 days and 4 months and 4 days. So yeah, you're right on with that.
And another key thing, I don't know if you got this in your notes, but the head coach for the Rams, his last birthday was 33 weeks and 3 days ago.
Those triple threes,
from tomorrow.
Okay.
And I know the Super Bowl, being on the
33rd
day of the year, leaving 333. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, it's a great observation. Appreciate it, man.
Yep, no problem.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
So yeah, LA Rams is 19 and 44. Saints is 19 and 44. New Orleans is 126. From the game to the NFC Championship is that many days. 126 days and 4 months and 4 days. I should go and plug in that note. That's something I think about with the outcome of tomorrow's game. Where did I put it at? This game is 126 days before the NFC Championship. 4 months and 4 days. So New Orleans, 126, 44. Or wait, caller?
Hey, so that word redemption is 119.
119. You cut out 119?
Yeah, like January 19th.
Oh yeah, that's a great thought, isn't it? Huh.
So yeah, maybe they lose tomorrow, but they get their redemption to go into the Super Bowl.
They could beat them twice too, for some extra redemption.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but that would be a scenario right there if they did the exact opposite of what they did last year. God.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the money tomorrow is going to be on the Saints to win tomorrow.
Yeah, again, really watch that pregame before you put in your things. I like to go against the public because that's how the casinos win. So.
Yeah, and that's funny that the guy looked up that word redemption, man, because all those numbers line up, and then now with that NFC Championship.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. That is pretty wild. All right, yeah, nice work. Nice teamwork. All right. And Saints is 19. both of them are 19, I guess. Last year, Saints beat Rams in regular season and lost in NFC Championship. Let's actually go back and look at how that was spaced out again. Okay. All right, let's see. Saints head-to-head. All right, Los Angeles Rams. And November 4th and January 20th. So let's see how that spacing was. November 4th, 2018, January 20th, 2019. It was 77 days later, 11 weeks, or a span of 78 days. 11. And the scores of those games, 45 to 35, 23 to 26. Yeah, I'd really pay attention to how the money rests on this game. Something else I want to do real quick. I want to go back to last week's notes and check something out real quick. I want to see. All right. Last week, the Bears game was 243 days after the owner's birthday, and they lost. And I guess she was the only 243 connection last week. So 243 doesn't mean you're going to win necessarily, but there's definitely something going on with 243 and 54. We were first caught onto that with the death of Darryl Drake, the receivers coach for the Steelers. Yeah, I really would watch the pregame tomorrow. And when I say pregame, I'm talking about the website to see how the money lies on this Saints and Rams game, because could make the difference. But again, why did they schedule it 34 weeks after the game and the Saints going for that 34th regular season win? I keep coming back to that. All right. Let's go Raiders. Let's see, where were we in this review? Let's see. All right, we were at the Seahawks and Steelers, reviewing it one more time. Again, the head-to-head record gives you an argument for both teams. The game's on Pete Carroll's birthday. Could be a nice big present for Petey. I do believe that the Seahawks are going to lose next week at home versus the Saints. And if Wilson didn't lose this week, he'd stay at 36 regular season losses on the 36-date numerology. Could pick up the 37th loss against the Saints. And the reason I think the Saints will win next week is because if they do, it'll make the record 4-4 in Seattle between the Saints and Seahawks. Seattle's 44, and Saints is 44. So that just seems right to me. And Big Ben's regular season stats are more suggestive of a loss. His all-time stats say he would win, but again, I like regular season over all-time stats. So Seahawks definitely got a shot there. Just that head-to-head record gives the Steelers their best. This right here is the best riddle on the board for the Steelers. The record at Pittsburgh. And then Bills and Giants, again, Manning. I like Manning to get that 117th win. Buffalo Bills 117. He can get his 63rd all-time win on the 63-date numerology. Buffalo 63. So regular season and all-time go together perfect with a Manning win. And then Allen becoming 2-5 against the Giants. Or, excuse me, 2-5 away against the Giants makes good sense too. So Again, take the best games that are out there. I saw something about the Patriots being the biggest road favorite in couple decades, I think. And a lot of times these huge spreads are the games where you see the upsets. So just knowing about the Patriots, Tom Brady having that losing record in Miami, it does make me a little bit antsy. But again, he is going for the 209th regular season win. Miami Dolphins is 209, so it's pretty perfect alignment. I'd say if Brady wins this week, bank on him starting 5-0. I think this is his most curious game. If he gets past this one, I think he's going 5-0. That fifth game's against Washington. Washington 50 like Brady. So, and there is a little riddle for him to get his 43rd away loss. Dolphins is 43. You got the 43 date numerology. Florida's 43. Let's see, we got a caller here. Caller?
Hey, Zachary, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It was a few games that I wanted to talk about. Tomorrow is Dan Marino's birthday, and they said the Dolphins are wearing their throwback jerseys.
It's Dan Marino's birthday tomorrow. That's a good catch.
Yep. And I know that Kirk Cousins, if he beats the Packers tomorrow, he'll be 3-0-1 in the regular season. But isn't that 103 backwards?
That's an interesting thought.
Right. And it's another one I saw with the Rams. Eric Weddle plays for them. And 3 teams he hasn't beaten so far when I had checked last week. And that was the Redskins, the Panthers, and the Saints. He beat the Panthers last Sunday, and he faces the Saints, and he's 0-3 against the Saints.
So he could become 1-3. LA's 13.
Correct.
Okay, Weddle. All right.
And I saw that Sean McVay, his record so far is 25-8. And if he wins tomorrow, he'll be 26-8. And if he loses to the Browns next Sunday night, he'll be 26-9. That's the 57th prime.
Give me that one more time.
Okay, Sean McVay, the coach of the Rams,
right.
His current record is 25-8.
Right.
If he wins tomorrow against the Saints, he'll be 26-8.
Right.
But if he loses next Sunday night against the Browns, he'll be 26-9, and that's the 57th prime.
269 is the 57th prime.
And that means Rams.
Rams equals 57. So he could also lose this week and win next week and achieve that as well, huh?
This is possible, but I'm just wondering, will the Browns lose again at home? And it's Sunday night. That's another, thought.
I'm going to take a look at that Browns-Rams matchup and see what's there.
Okay, and one more I have for you is the Bears. They play the Redskins next Monday night. So far, they're on a 7-game losing streak. And I know you were saying that 8 losing game streaks has been like a thing this year.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's another thing to look at.
So who can get that 8 again?
The Redskins, if they beat the Bears next week, because the Bears haven't beaten them since like 2003, and they have like a 7-game losing streak against the Redskins.
Okay, yeah, that's a great one to look at for next week. Those streaks at 8 have been hitting.
Right.
All right. Good work.
Oh, all right. Thank you. And I'll call again later. Take care.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
Okay, yeah, that's some interesting information. Let me go back down to what he was saying about Cousins real quick. Cousins is 2-0-1 versus the Packers in the regular season. I didn't think about the 103 in reverse. I was thinking about how if he lost, he'd be 2-1-1, like 2-11, the 47th prime, because I was thinking about how Bart Starr was the MVP of that first Super Bowl in the 47th NFL season. But that note needs to be made. If Cousins improved to 3-0-1, it would be the reflection of 1-0-3. Again, I just caught that if Rodgers won this week, it would set him up to get his 103rd win next week over the Broncos. Broncos 103. And I guess we could get clever here and look something up. So tomorrow is Dan Marino's birthday. That is very interesting. Dan Marino, 115, 277, the 59th prime. Dan Marino. Hold on here. Bart Starr. Bart Starr was 11-7 against the Vikings. 11-7. Rodgers is 12-8-1 versus the Vikings. Whew, okay. All right, I'm going to do it one more time, just from the top. 49ers at Bengals. Remember, there was a murder story this week. A 38-year-old former Bengal was killed in the Bay Area. You have to say, what are the odds? The only 38 on the board is Dalton getting his 38th home win in the regular season. If he did win, he'd get his 68th win overall. San Francisco is 68. And, you know, if Jimmy G won next 3 games, he would be 12-2. Let's make this note here, something to think about. It makes a lot of sense for San Francisco to win next week at home versus the Steelers. It'll be a perfect 50 riddle. San Francisco's 50, Pittsburgh's 50, Steelers is 50. If Jimmy G lost this week at the Bengals and won next week over the Steelers, he'd be 10-3 in the regular season, and Steelers is 103 as well. So if he loses, he will be 9-3 this week. The name of the 38-year-old who died, his name is 93 in the most pure cipher. Just having trouble overlooking that story in light of the numbers on the board in this game. So I'm personally leaning Bengals in that one. But I have a feeling that if 49ers do win this week, we might very well see Jimmy G end up being 12-2, because that's a big number in San Francisco, 122. All right, Chargers-Lions. There's an upset narrative here. If you're doing one of those small parlays, you know, with some upsets, if Rivers loses, he will get his 91st loss in the regular season, and Detroit is 91. So that is the upset narrative on the board. There's not a whole lot of synchronicities with that game, but that is one thing that stands out. The Vikings and Packers, I was feeling good about Rodgers winning so he could get that 103rd against the Broncos next week, but the point he just made, it is worth considering the 3-0-1 for Cousins. That is like 1-0-3 in reverse. It's just it seems this riddle has more to do with Bart Starr and the Packers rather than the division rival Vikings. Caller?
Hey, I was looking up Phillip Rivers for fantasy football, and it's 84 days from his birthday, and Chargers can improve to 8-4. What do you think about that?
His upcoming birthday?
It was either his last birthday or his upcoming birthday.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It is 84 days to his upcoming birthday, and you are right. They could improve to 8-4. So yeah, that's a narrative there. It's just like, man, I expect the Chargers to be a good team this year. Again, the Patriots did lose early in the season at Detroit, went on to win the Super Bowl. So
yeah, and you know they had that close game last week with the Colts. And I think their defense is going to be not as good as last year because of that injury to the star player, Derwin James. So I think they'll still be a good team, but their defense might not be as good as it was last year.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense. That is a good observation about the 84 days. Yeah, that 91st loss is still there, though, on the board. So.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Go with the guns, man. Appreciate it. I'll jot it down here, though. 84 days to Rivers' upcoming birthday. And Chargers could improve to 8-4 versus Lions. So All right. But again, if Rodgers does win this week, this game's synced up with the death of Bart Starr. He can get his 103rd next week, 103rd win next week over the perfect opponent, the Broncos, 103. There are a few other things to consider. Cousins does have date numerology on his side. Cousins could get his 36th win in the regular season on the 36th date. If he lost, he'd pick up his 38th loss going back to Minnesota to host the Raiders next week. So, but yeah, that caller, he did think of that is a good thought about the 3-0-1, 103 in reverse. My eyes were fixated on the 211. Which very well could be what it is. Again, Bart Starr was the MVP in the 47th season of the NFL. 211's the 47th prime. Like I said, Titans, they won the only 2 games they've won in the Luck era is when Luck didn't play that season. So they have a lot of making up to do against the Colts. If Brissett loses this week and next week, he'll pick up his 15th loss against Atlanta. Titans won the last 2 games versus Colts when Luck wasn't on the field. And that's it. They got beaten every other game. So they got some making up to do. And then Patriots-Dolphins, I'd probably just leave this game alone, honestly. I mean, Patriots aren't going to pay anything, and you just never know when another Miami Miracle could get drawn up. Let me make this note. This game is on Dan Marino's birthday. It looks to me like Brady should get that 209th regular season win because Miami Dolphins is 209. But it is one play. I think it's the only place in the NFL where he has a losing record. He's 7-10 there. If he lost, he'd be 7-11. Those numbers seem to come together. All right, and then again, one more time, I like Eli Manning to get that 117th win. Buffalo Bills equals 117, and he could also get his 63rd all-time win. You have 63 date numerology, and Buffalo equals 63. So that looks really good for Manning. And again, Allen can become 2-5 away, Giants 25. If the Bills lose, they'll also be 3-3 versus the Giants. New York's 33 for one more. So Seahawks and Steelers, I'll let you go over the notes and make a call. To me, it looks like a little bit more lines up for Seattle than Pittsburgh, but there's still one thing there for Pittsburgh that could be all that matters. So it's on Pete Carroll's birthday. Cowboys and Redskins is very tight. I won't be surprised if the Redskins upset here, but if you're doing fantasy, just remember there's a real nice alignment with Ezekiel Elliott in this game. There's also a real nice alignment with number 41 for the Saints. Okay, and we're watching that first pass of Case Keenum. What does Case Keenum do on his first pass? Caller made a really interesting observation. Lamar Jackson to get to 8-1 makes a whole lot of sense. Cardinals equals 81, where he played college, the Louisville Cardinals. Do they cover the 13.5 points? I'd see where the public money's at. You do have a date with 43 numerology, the 14th prime. Maybe you get a 2-touchdown game. Or maybe the Ravens put it on the Cardinals for a second week in a row. You know, they had the most dominant week 1 against the Dolphins. Jaguars and Texans. The Jaguars have a few riddles here for an upset. It's in the cards. But the strongest thing on the board, just based on pattern recognition, I always see Houston in 31. And if Watson wins, he's going to be 3-1 versus the Jaguars, like 31. And O'Brien would get his 43rd regular season win. Jacksonville's 43 date numerology. So be sure to go over the notes. Use your own eyes. There are a few things here that are concerning for Watson, but that 31 just seems to always show up in Houston. Chiefs and Raiders, one more time, I do like the Chiefs to win. Mahomes falls to 7-4 away. Raiders 74, Oakland, California 74. And Carr improves to 3-8 versus the Chiefs, Raiders 38. Bears Broncos, another tight one. Trubisky to me makes a little bit more sense with a loss this week. And the fact that Flacco can get his 61st home win, 61's the 18th prime, Bears 18. You know what? Let's see how this game syncs up with John Elway. Why am I not thinking about that? John Elway was drafted by the Baltimore Colts, right? And then he went to the Broncos. So now we got a Baltimore QB coming to Denver, and he's making his debut in Denver. So we got to see how that lines up. It's 79 days after Elway's birthday. Ravens is 79. All right, hold on. Whoops, wrong thing. This game is 79 days. Whoops. After Elway's birthday. And if the Bears lost, Bears would fall to 7-9 versus the Broncos. See, that's the thing about this head-to-head record. The Bears could improve to 8-8 because Denver, Colorado's 88. So is Patrick Dennis Bullen, who died this offseason June 13th. All right. Bears could fall to 7-9 versus Broncos. Denver Broncos. Joseph Vincent Flacco's 97. He could lead the Broncos to 9-7 versus the Bears. All right. Yeah, just looking at the QBs though, it looks a little bit better for the Broncos. So. And now seeing that it's 79 days from Elway's birthday, and the Bears could fall to 7-9, that also makes a little bit of sense. So, leaning that way in that one. Saints and Rams. Again, just to be super repetitive, it's 34 weeks after the NFC Championship. The Saints are going for the 34th regular season win. If the Saints begin the season 3-0, they will go into the Cowboys game with that record. Cowboys is 30, like 3-0. I do think the Saints will win next week in Seattle, so it's just a matter of do they win this week. And again, I really have to watch this 243 and 54 thing. I know there's a special relationship there. Maybe it doesn't mean that a team's going to win, though. Last week there was one example to go off of. The Bears lost 243 days after the owner's birthday, but I'm not sure that this number is going to mean that somebody's going to lose each time it lines up. Caller?
Hey, bro.
Hey, what's up, man?
Not a lot. Just got done with work here. I just want to throw a couple stats at you. I did see the other day. Andy Reid, is currently 10-2 versus the Raiders during his era.
So he could become 10-3, like 103, the 27th prime on the 27 date numerology.
Or he could become 11-2. Chiefs equal.
That's true.
1-1-2 also.
That's true. That is a good thought.
I just wanted to throw. I'm liking the Raiders too, man. I just playing devil's advocate there. And then I saw something where it said the Pats have lost 5 of last 6 versus Miami.
5 of last 6, huh?
Right. I don't know, that's kind of weird stuff, but...
Well, that's what I mean. Miami's seems to have their number, so... Yeah, that's why that game, man. I probably wouldn't mess that game, but it's very interesting that Brady can get his 209th regular season win and Miami Dolphins is 209. And I don't know if you caught earlier, but I talked about the death of the musician yesterday, Eddie Money.
how did that connect to the game this week? Is he a Miami guy?
He's not, but Eddie Money equals 54. So we got upcoming Super Bowl 54 in Miami. And then his full name equals 209 and 70, just like Miami Dolphins is 70 and 209. And then Brady happens to be playing in Miami going for his 209th regular season win.
Yeah, that's interesting.
He's a New York guy, which is where the NFL league office is. So.
Hey, one other thing I failed to mention when I'm talking about the Jameson Winston riddle on Thursday night. You see the box score? Did you see how many yards passing he had?
What did he have?
Fucking 208. And weren't you talking about how there was a flood in New Orleans 208 days before? New Orleans Saints equals 208.
Right.
And that was obviously a riddle connecting to Drew Brees.
Right.
Yeah, I just thought that was probably not. That was an accident.
Yeah, that's a good observation.
All right, brother.
All right, appreciate it, man.
All right, take care.
Take care. See you. Okay. So, yeah, I'm digging the QB riddles on both sides. It just looks like a perfect Raiders tribute. Farewell season. What could be a bigger gift to the Raiders than beating the Chiefs this year? I guess sweeping all the division opponents at home, which is possible. So they'd only have to win this game and the Chargers game to do it. They're a third of the way there. All right. Let's see. Went through Bears, Broncos, Saints, Rams. Again, I just keep coming back to the 34 weeks later, but do look at the numbers because Drew Brees' record can make sense either way with a win or a loss, which is what makes it hairy. Goff's kind of a teeter-totter. So, Goff's next win all-time will be 28. Plays the Browns next week. He could get his 28th all-time win against the Browns next week if he didn't win this week. And again, it was pointed out how this game between the Saints and Rams is perfectly synced up with this year's NFC Championship. So, could it be foreshadowing? And then Falcons game, again, just like I said last week. Last week I liked Carson Wentz to win because I thought he'd win last week and this week to get that 25th win. Falcons is 25. The devil's advocate narrative would be that if he stayed on 24 wins, he'd go into the Lions game with 24 wins. Lions is 24. But just Falcons in 25, it seems like it's something that we talk about over and over. So, got to lean towards him picking up that 25th win. Ryan and Quinn would make sense if they picked up a loss with the against the Eagles as well. And then Browns at Jets. I like that Mayfield can be 7-8. Cleveland 78, New York 78, Trevor Siemian 78, and the game's on Mayfield's 156th day of his age. Last week, Drew Brees got his 156th regular season win on Monday Night Football. When you write out 33, it's 156, like MNF is 33. And Trevor Siemian, he makes sense with a loss as well. Can get his 12th regular season loss on MNF 12. Plus you got 37 date numerology, the 12th prime. So all of that looks about right to me. So I'm going to post these notes and on these tighter calls, I'll let you make a judgment call. I always advocate for be patient, take the strongest riddles out there, be selective, be the tortoise, build it one day at a time, and eventually we'll get our week where we can put together our 6 parlay game card type of thing. We did that last year around this time. But we got to wait till the week comes where we get enough strong games to line it up to do that. So, all right, we'll leave it there. Gonna post all the notes again in the description. They should be there already, but now they'll be updated all the way. And I'll do a separate post too, just in case you need help finding it. So, we'll leave it there. No live stream tomorrow. Enjoy the games. Again, I had a gentleman fly out here He was going to meet me in Philadelphia, but he really wanted to meet up, so tomorrow I'm actually going to show him a little bit of Washington State because he's never been up here to the Pacific Northwest before. So no live stream tomorrow. We'll be back Monday at the regular time, and hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Till next time.